This episode of the Oh No 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 podcast is sponsored by Dynamic Industrial Services, the rope access specialists. The roof of the South Stand at Starch Park is some 19 metres above the pitch, the same height as 11 Aidan Connolly's. But as we all know, there's only one Aidan Connolly, and so you'd be much better off with Dynamic Industrial Services. DIS specialise in working at height, offering a range of services including maintenance, inspection and repair. To find out more, visit dynamicindustrialservices.co.uk.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. That was the motto of the Dillon Panthers in the criminally underrated television programme Friday Night Lights. But it's going to take a lot more than just clear eyes and full hearts for the Rovers under the Friday Night Lights at Starch Park this week, as they come up against an Airdrie side who've largely had our number so far this season. It might only be the Challenge Cup, but semi-finals don't come around too often, and it promises to be a brilliant atmosphere in the South Stand. So this is the Oh No 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 podcast. I am Duncan Cameron, and to look ahead to this, I am joined by some of the usual suspects. So first of all, I've got Blair Hopcroft. How are you, Blair?
Very well, mate. Delighted to be back.
Excellent. We've got Leslie Maybon as well. How are you, Les?
Absolutely brilliant. Had a fantastic ride in a little twin-engine plane back from Tyree to Oban to be here. Very glad to be here after having seen the beautiful Hebridean seas.
It's real dedication to the podcast. And and very well worth looking up Leslie's Twitter for that, because when he says, there are small planes and there are small planes.
Yeah.
For a second, you just somehow stepped into a drone to get across there. Scott Fleming is with us too. How are you, Scott?
Aye, all good, mate. Cheers.
Fantastic. And we also have a special guest tonight. I think our second ever guest, but one with a very well-kent voice around these parts. So the helmsman of our spiritual forerunner from K107 and the Rovers head of hospitality. It's Graeme Kilgour. How are you, Graeme?
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. I'm very well. Looking forward to this podcast, and I'm hopefully looking forward to some Friday Night Lights as well.
Fantastic. And Graeme, I'm going to stick with you, as is our wont with people who are coming on for the first time. Just give us your general thoughts on the season so far. And feel free to break that into two parts if you want, because it might make it easier.
Hi. Well, I mean, look, we're all Wraith Rovers supporters at the end of the day, and I think if you could have said to any one of us this time last year where we'd be sitting right now, I know that maybe the current run of form has made us a little bit more apprehensive about our thoughts of the season, but you know, we're in a semi-final and we're still joint top of the Scottish Championship. We're up challenging Dundee United, so yeah, like it's been an unbelievable season, and I think we've all probably aged quite a lot with the way that we've been winning some of our games with these 94th, 5th, 6th, whatever it is, winners. But what a ride it's been to It's been absolutely fantastic, and I think this will definitely be a season for me, regardless of how it finishes. It will live long in my memory as a season that I've enjoyed and relished as a supporter as well. But being able to work with the club too, it's been a real sort of honour for me.
Actually, you're spot on with the number of games and number of moments that we'll keep on calling back to that all happened, and it could very well turn out they all happened just in one 3-month window in the middle of this season, depending on how things keep going. Right, but let's kind of step into this semi-final then, and Leslie, I'm going to start with you. So Rhys McCabe's Airdrie side haven't lost since the 16th of December, and some fairly impressive results in that time as well. Are you wary of them going into this one?
What I think is really hard with the Challenge Cup until you get to the final is you just don't know what the opposition are going to be doing. So Airdrie, they're very much kind of in the hunt for that fourth place playoff spot, and they're not the biggest squad, and they've done a great job with the resources and budget they have. So if you're Rhys McCabe, I wonder, are you thinking, right, we've got a chance at a crack at a final here, a chance to get a bit closer to a trophy? Or are you thinking, right, let's give a few guys who've been working really hard a rest and give our fringe players a chance and see if we can keep ourselves going to the end of the season with league campaigns? It's hard to know what to expect, whether they'll just go out and do what they've always done or whether they'll try and mix things up a bit. And I think that will influence a lot how challenging we find the game.
Yeah, with absolutely no evidence for this at all, I'm kind of expecting quite a strong Airdrie side. With this game being the Friday night and their next game being Hearts in the Cup next Sunday, I think it's kind of twofold. It's a slightly longer break than they would maybe expect anyway, and I think you're talking about people playing for places in that Airdrie side. There'll be guys there who'll be looking for a jersey. I was going to say to take to Tynecastle, but that would be a silly thing to do because they're playing at home. Scott, thinking about the Rovers side then, do you think we'll see much rotation? Do you think there'll be much in the way of Ian Murray resting players? I was going to say about rotation, but that seems like almost guaranteed in some form or another. But give me your thoughts on what you think Ian Murray might do.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, as Leslie's touched on. Nobody really knows how serious a team's going to take it. I suppose you get to the semi-final stage, and that's kind of when folk go, right, we're one game away for a final, so I suppose we might as well take it serious now. I mean, last season, we took 2 subs up to Dundee and managed to escape through a penalty shootout. So that, if that's what it takes again tomorrow, although albeit we'll have a full bench, I'll take that. But I really don't know. I just think the fact that we've got a 2-week break till our next league game is just going to make Ian Murray go, well, I'm just going to go full strength, because what is he resting for, really? He's got nothing next week. I'd imagine he'll probably try and fit a bounce game or something in next week just so that we've got a game. But yeah, I would go full strength. The fact that our next game's Dundee United, and then we've got pretty much, apart from Stanton, who is back technically in training, but he's not going to be risked for this. So I think we just go with what we've got, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it's a back four tomorrow.
Yeah, you'd certainly hope so. Or I would certainly hope so. Based on an hour and 15 minutes worth of conversation that we had on Monday night there. I know you feel the same way. Blair, we missed you in that episode. We didn't get your thoughts. Presumably you're not a huge understated fan of the kind of mad back three. What are you hoping to see with this one?
A back four. Yeah, no, I'm with you. To be fair, we've got the right man on tonight because Graeme loves a back three.
All the way.
To be honest with you, I was working at the weekend and I finished about 4:00. So I managed to catch pretty much the second half. I kind of had the first half on sneakily while I was kind of working. Saw the first goal go in and thought, oh, here we go. And then obviously what happened. But I missed the second goal. So I saw the first one go in, and when I looked back, I saw the third one going in. I was like, wait, what, 3? How's that happened? It's a funny one. Murray's obviously got a decision to make, as he always does, about his team selection and what he's going to do, but he's kind of also got a bad run of form behind him. He's got probably the biggest game of the season is the next league game, because, we lose that and the gap widens and it starts to feel a bit different at that point. So you're not going to win or lose a league at this stage. Like it's just not going to happen, but it's a big marker. But the potential that, he's off the back of 4 defeats. So you've got to think he's also looking to turn the form a little bit. The one thing I think that's going in his favour at the moment, so you guys obviously spoke about it really well, I thought, on Monday night. I thought it was really balanced, because it's hard to come on here and you can't always be positive all the time, but you also can't come on here and just slag them off constantly. Like, you've got to try and maintain a bit of balance, and as hard as that is, it's a lot easier on the Monday than it is on the Sunday, I think. But for me, the way it is now, if you look at who's droppable, and then you look at who's not droppable, and you've basically got Vaughan and Hamilton are the only two that at this point on form start if they're fit. They're the only two that if he is going full strength, everybody else, there's an argument to be made for them being swapped out or do you know what I mean, dropped. So I feel like Murray's got himself into the situation where he's got so many attacking players. He kind of, and you guys spoke about it, it's like you've just no defenders anymore because you're just asking attackers to do defenders' jobs, and it doesn't work. But I think he's got to the stage now where he can almost start again, like rip up the script and start afresh with this game. I would very much like to see a back four, but I'm very much hoping it's going to be Keith Watson at centre half. He's obviously not played yet, and this seems like the obvious game to play him in. It's Challenge Cup, and it's always that debate, you know, is that a Mickey Mouse Cup? Well, it is until you get to the final, and then it's no anymore. Do you know what I mean, would he be distraught at going out in the semi-final of the Challenge Cup? No, I don't think Murray would be. But would he be distraught about losing 5 games on the bounce going into the Dundee United game? Aye, I think he kind of would be. So I don't actually think it's the semi-final that matters as much as the run of form.
Yeah, I think you made a couple of very good points in there. I'm in complete agreement in terms of the back four, and it's for that same reason. I think you're probably, just given everything that's happened, for me, I'm looking at sort of 45 minutes for Keith Watson, 45 minutes for Dylan Corr, but mostly just to avoid the kind of tempting of fate as much as anything. But yeah, it would be nice just to see Dabrowski in goal, Liam Dick, Ewan Murray, Keith Watson, Ross Millen. Like, there's your first choice defence. And actually, you know, the band's back together. And even if it is just 45 minutes, and even if it doesn't go particularly well, it feels like it could be the first step to actually playing the same defence 3 or 4 games in a row, which would be a real novelty for us. But
I spoke about this in the post, was it the post Queen's game? Or no, it was pre-Inverness. When we had that technical difficulty, we ended up kind of sitting and looking through the stats, but that recognised back four hasn't played twice. And on the bounce. I mean, it just hasn't happened at all this season. That's massive.
Yeah.
We're now up to 15 games where they've had changes in the defensive line. And it'll be 15 or 16 if we change something for this weekend. That is
massive. It'll be 16, tell you that much. Okay.
I think you should get off the fence, Duncan, and tell us how you really feel.
You're a proponent of a back three, presumably not one that has 2 fullbacks in it, or have you been in Ian Murray's ear these past few weeks?
3 defenders, 7 attackers. Here we go. Look, all I'm saying is there's a place for it, and you know, having started working at the club and we've seen the figures that come out, it's bums on seats, guys. You know, we want to sell entertainment. And you just don't know what you're getting when you're coming through the doors at Starts Park these days. But on a serious note, you know, like obviously on Saturday, it was difficult at times, and you looked at the back three. I think when Scott, you mentioned about last year where we were with 2 subs, I believe if I remember correctly, we started the first 30 minutes of that game against Dundee with a back three, and probably changed it when we were 2-0 down and went on. You know, as I said, but I look at the chat. The League Cup, the Challenge Cup, is. I got a chance to speak to Scott Brown and Lewis Vaughan at Hospitality last week when they were having to, you know, traipse around, unfortunately for them, having to do the rounds to apologise to the supporters and try and bring people up. But one of the conversations was a big game on Friday night. And the thing is, when you get a chance to speak to someone like Scott Brown, who said that he's been in 1 cup final in his career, and it was last year's, and he didn't get a chance to get his hands on the trophy, he's not looking at this as a Mickey Mouse Cup or a chance to run out. Lewis Vaughan, who's missed out on some of the cup finals that we've won, didn't get a chance to put his hands on that trophy, so he wants to win that game. And then you also look at it from a manager's point of view. It's a cup final that we're in for if we win on Friday night. And I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you are. If you're in a cup final of anything, it's big. And if there's a chance to get there, it's even bigger. And when you look at the mouthwatering ties that we could actually have in the final, you could be looking at a cup final where it could be Raith Rovers versus Falkirk, which would just be insane when you look at that. And then, of course, there's the prospect of playing an international opposition with TNS, who have knocked Scottish clubs out of European competitions in the past. So it's it's a big thing. But then it's when you see that then on the club's point of view, the financial benefit of winning a competition like this. We technically could get European football with a trip to Las Palmas, remember? So all the pennies count at the end of the day for this kind of thing. And someone also said, like, full strength. What is full strength with the squad that we've got? Go back a year and you look at, we had 2 outfield subs, and we knew kind of who would have to start that game and who would have to be the people that would be recalled. But where do you even start when you look at, like on Saturday there, being able to bring Zach Rudden off the bench, Dylan Easton off the bench, who else came off the bench for that, and then who we had on the bench, Keith Watson on the bench as well. It's suddenly going like, it's an embarrassment of riches. And when you've got that much to select, it must be difficult to try and work out. I mean, I wouldn't want a manager's job when you've got those many players. Kyle Turner being another one, in fact, that was it. But what is full strength and how do you go about it? But I genuinely believe that there's, as I think Blair had said, there's no game until the Dundee United match. There's no reason to rest players. It's just a case of, let's put the strongest squad on the park, team on the park, and see what we can do. And there's a cup final at stake here and a chance maybe to right the wrongs of last season, because I'm sure losing to 10 men for as long as we did, with some of the chances that we missed and even some of the player performances that day, I think most people would agree we didn't play very well that day at all. And there'll be people out there that want to, like you say, Lewis Vaughan and Scott Brown, I can say from speaking from the horse's mouth, that they want to win this competition. And there's no reason why we can't look at going out and winning it, particularly when you look at the team that we've got.
It's different if you're in a bit of a kind of fixture congestion, or if you know you've got postponed games to make up on. That's not the case. You've got a fortnight after this one. I will say, just on that point though, there's kind of 2 for me. I think, Scott, you mentioned already, Sam Stanton's the obvious one. There's absolutely no sense in risking him for that. Give him the extra weeks, give him all the time he needs. The other one, that this is not so much an opinion, it's more a question. Has there been any kind of update on Jack Hamilton that anybody's seen? And since he went off, it looked like, I know immediately after the game, Mickey said that he thought it was relatively minor. But I don't know that there's necessarily been anything since then. On the basis that it's kind of no news is good news. Hopefully he's absolutely fine. But again, if there's any question mark at all, I think you've got, unlike even a fortnight ago, you've got a sort of ready-made replacement in Zach Rudden to come in there. And so that would be one of the changes that I would make. Probably regardless. I think I would probably start Rudden and let Jack Hamilton have a wee sit down. But Leslie, I mean, it's Graeme's question really, in terms of what is your strongest side for a game like this. Who would you be picking? Who do you think's? I suppose it is a question of really who's earned a place, and like Blair said, who's maybe talked themselves out of a place in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I cannot disagree with anything before. I think the back 4, and I cannot stress the word 4 too strongly here, and Dabrowski need to start. And, get Watson, and even if it's for 45 minutes, get that back 4 playing together. If Keith Watson does 45 minutes and then Dylan Corr comes on at half-time, then that's absolutely fine too. But just get that group playing together. Something I would maybe like to try out in midfield, though, is if he's up to it, is to get Ross Matthews starting. Because it was something we'd been talking about a bit in the group chat, or something Robbie had pointed out, which I'd wholeheartedly agree with, which was that against the Airdrie game where we didn't win, and against Dunfermline at the end, and also against Inverness, we had a lot more steel in the midfield when Ross Matthews came on. He was getting involved, he was winning balls, he was given us something that would actually been lacking for a few weeks. And I'd love to see if he's fit enough, if he's got, just to actually get him a start. And again, if he can only do a 45 minutes or whatever, then that's absolutely fine, but get him in there. The other person, again, if they're fit, that I would maybe be really keen to give a start, just Kyle Turner. Again, how you fit that dynamic of having Byrne and Turner and potentially Matthews, and do you give Brown a race as well? I don't know, but again, get Kyle Turner on the pitch. I think he's a good player. He's not had a great start with us. I'm not entirely sure that's entirely his fault. He's been up against two teams of giants that have been content to knock lumps out of him. But again, if he can have a good performance, you can see him kicking on from there. So I'd be inclined to keep a similar shape. Definitely the same a consistent back line. Ross Matthews getting game time, Kyle Turner getting game time. And also the forgotten man, Scott McGill. Would be nice for him to get a bit of game time too if circumstances permit. Whether that's in the midfield or whether it's just giving him some minutes as a stand-in left or right back. Up front, Zach Rudden, rest Hamilton if he's not fit. Get defence, I think, is the main thing, and we can build out from there.
It's almost consistency of structure as much as anything, isn't it? Rather than the individuals that make up that defence for the time being. Scott, same question to you, really. Is there anyone in particular that you're hoping to see in this lineup when it comes out tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think I would tend to agree with the whole. I would swap out Hamilton just in case there is even just a niggle with his shoulder. I would go with Rudden and just see what he's going to give us. We've seen obviously snippets of it, and as Murray said in his interview today, he trained us once, I think, last week, and so it was kind of almost a bit rushed to put him on for 45 minutes. Although within 10 minutes, he's obviously linked up well with Vonnie to score. But no, I would like to think that if he's had a week of training, maybe this is the sort of game you try him and see how he's getting on with how we play. And then I agree that I would probably bring Turner back in again, just get, again, another player that needs to just learn how we're playing in terms of in Murray's systems and stuff like that. But yeah, absolutely, we need two centre-halves and two full-backs playing tomorrow if we've got any chance of doing anything. Because I just don't see how it's going to work going forward after what's been going on the last few weeks. So now I just think I'm trying to see. I would kind of go with the Ross Matthews thing as well. I would actually even maybe look at bringing him in for Byrne. I don't think I would drop Brown. I think Brown's been fine, and I like if Brown gets the chance to go actually a bit more forward. Last season, I think it was Robbie touched on it in the last podcast, that Brown scored a few goals last season as he was just breaking into the box really late on. I think Ayr was the game that we used as the sort of example of it, but we've not really seen that from him because he's had to either be playing centre-half or be playing as the six. So I think I would like to see maybe give Byrne a little bit of a rest because he's pretty much played every game since he's been at us, and then bring in Matthews to give him, even if it's just 50, 60 minutes, and then bring Byrne on or whoever, what you need. But and then I don't expect him to really change anything with the goalies either. I think he'll probably just go with Big Kev, unless he really wants to give McNeil the game, but I just don't see why you would change it. Again, we've got 2 weeks to the next game, just a bit of consistency would be nice.
Yeah, I'm certainly hoping Dabrowski plays again. I think it's just a case of keeping as many people together as you can and just trying to foster a little bit more of that communication and organisation that's maybe been lacking a little bit. Blair, let's just focus on the kind of the wide players, I suppose, because the guys have really covered the middle of the park there. Any real preference for you over your the Eastons, Mullins, Connoys and Smiths of the world?
Honestly, no. And actually, disappointingly for the other reason. So like this whole season we've been talking about, you could almost spin a wheel and just stop it and play whoever comes up on the wheel because they all deserve a chance and they all... But actually I'd say that's probably the group of players that are probably out of form more than anybody else is the wide men. And actually, I'd agree with Scott. Sean Byrne, for me, I think needs to come out, actually. I think the big strength that Murray had at the beginning of the season was when boys came in and took their chance, they were given their chance. And it was very much that kind of, we talked about it loads, like Vonnie would have a great game and then Gullen would come on and score. You're going, well, hard lines, but he deserves his chance now. He's come in and he's done the job and he should get his run. So I would, it's a really tough one because actually I don't think any of them have played particularly well for the last few weeks. Probably not entirely their own fault though. Like you guys have covered quite a bit in that last episode. They're playing out of position and they're having to do a job that's maybe not their kind of natural way of doing things. Dylan Easton's the one for me. Like I just feel like he needs one good performance. He's just one of those players that I think if he can have a really good game, I just feel like he'll get back to being the best player in the championship. Like I genuinely feel like he's got to that stage where he's just overthinking things and trying things, and it's out of a passion for the game and out of a passion for trying to do his job the best he can. But yeah, he's kind of dropped off a wee bit. Aidan Connolly's stopped doing the things that Aidan Connolly was good at before, like cutting in and shooting. I'm trying to think back, but I think his last shot on target was probably the one at Ayr, at home to Ayr in that 4-4 game. I can't remember him actually.
The keeper made an amazing save against Queen's Park.
Yeah, that's true. I just feel like he's kind of, I don't know, like the Livingston game, he was a bit off the boil, and Mullen probably deserves a chance out wide. Is fair because he's been used in a more central role and he's played right back and stuff. But it's a really tough one. But it's tough for the wrong reasons. But I am absolutely certain that the boys will be buzzing in that changing room. Do you know what I mean? They'll be kind of ready to go and the atmosphere will be great. But I would love to see Matthews play. I would love to see. Actually, I think Leslie's right. I'd like to see Scott McGill get a bit of time. He seems to have just disappeared completely. But I think having those players ready to come on and make an impact might be good. But for me, the big thing is about how we play tomorrow night. We've just fallen into this trap with Airdrie this season. They sit back and they absorb us, and then they catch us on the break, and we just keep letting them do it. And it's that thing of I think we just need to go out and dictate the play a bit more, because on paper, side to side, we have the better players and we have the better side on paper. I don't even think an Airdrie fan would disagree with that. But in terms of playing as a team at the moment, they're 100% all on point, and they know exactly what they're doing. They have a game plan and they stick to it. And I feel like because of all the changes that he's been forced to make, we don't really have a game plan at the moment so much. So it'd be really nice, I think, to see us go out and dictate it a bit more. Maybe not even play with wide men. A bold thing, but I think I might actually go more narrow. Might do a bit of a genuinely like a diamond with two up front. I think would actually be a way of getting at Airdrie, because I don't see us beating them on the wide.
I know exactly what you mean. I'm just thinking, like, do we need to use a 9 formation this season?
I mean, it's 4-4-2. It's just a narrow 4-4-2.
Yeah, you're right.
Look at your face.
We have 17 wingers. And
We
you're
do.
just like, none of them.
None of them deserve a start. That's where we're at. Drop them all. Put them all in the tiger cage and rattle it.
Up until the very end there, I was in complete agreement with you, and then you threw it all away. Because the two games at Airdrie, I think, are the two best opposition performances I've seen this season.
Yeah, I agree.
Particularly because they almost entirely didn't rely on individual performances at all. Like, there was good performances in there. The Megwa, the right back, was brilliant in the last game. In particular, but it was more, as you say, as a team, the way that they handled the Rovers was excellent. and just and you know, I waxed lyrical enough about it the last time, made me feel a little bit ill. But I think what might be the key to overcoming that is actually it's something else you said there about Easton, and it applies to Vaughan as well, which is that they're both willing to try the stuff that gets them the moans and the groans when it doesn't come off. Like Easton in particular, you know, he'll try and take his man, and he'll try and take his man again, and it's that. But I think that's going to be what we need, because you can't. Airdrie they're too well organised that when you play the game in front of them, they know what they're doing, and they know how to kind of keep you at arm's length. We've seen that now, and it's that you need to get in behind them. You need to find that little bit to get in, and there's plenty of players in this Rovers team who are good enough to do it, and the likes of Kyle Turner is good enough to do that with his passing as much as anything else. But it's a case of finding the ways to do that and not falling into the frustration, because that's, I say, in the 2 away games in particular, we've never looked like doing it at all, and that's to Airdrie's credit as much as anything else. But that's kind of what I'm looking out for with this one is just can we find something a little bit different, as you say, whether that's trying to control the game a little bit more, or whether it's finding someone who's got their tail up on a Friday evening and can do a little bit of kind of individual brilliance. Because I think if we get more of the same as we did in the last game against Airdrie, I think we'll see more of the same results wise as well. Right, I tell you what, let's do a little round of predictions on this as well, and also just give me your any other stray thoughts you want to throw in on this one. Graeme, we'll start with you, please. Give me a scoreline, and just anything else you want to add.
Well, I just say I'd written down Megwa as you were actually talking about him. He won't be playing tomorrow night, which is great. And I think Airdrie, I don't know if is it 5 players that they've since they won't be playing tomorrow night or won't be in their squad that were in the last game that we played against them. So, there's a lot of changes. So at least Megwa is definitely one of them. I know that there's 3 or 4 either on top of that as well, which won't be there. So again, we're coming up against a completely different Airdrie team that we played just a few weeks ago as well. So hopefully that does have an impact on how they'll be setting up and things like that as well. I know they signed somebody, I think yesterday or today, coming up from down south. But again, that last week with Zach Rudden does take a bit of time for these guys to settle in a lot of the time. So there's nothing to say that they've signed somebody from Fulham or wherever it was and he's going to come into the starting lineup and he'll probably have a bit of talent and stuff. I'm hoping that maybe it takes a bit of time. Watch him bang a hat trick now after I've said this, but in terms of listen, if he's going to score a hat trick, then we'll score 5 and we're going to win by more than 1 goal.
More than 1 goal. Straight in with the big predictions.
It's the cup. We always win by more than 1 in the cup.
We'll play at full time and we'll score 2 in extra time. And Big Kev will be absolutely gutted because he wanted to be the hero in the penalty shootout. So that's what I'm going for. 5-3.
5-3 after extra time. Good stuff. I tell you again, I would settle for that. I think
that's entertainment, right?
Exactly. That's bang for your buck. Scott, you next, please.
I'm not going to go quite as high scoring this. I think just this season, it's proven in the 3 games we've scored once against them this season. They just seem to be, they just know how we play. And I think that's just because, and Rhys McCabe's came out and said this before, he really enjoyed playing under Ian Murray. And he really studied him clearly, the fact that he knows how he's going to play. So I think it could be another sort of nip and tuck sort of game, and I'm actually hoping Rhys McCabe decides to pull himself out the team and just sit at the sideline, because he's the one that I noticed. Obviously, I wasn't at the first 2 Airdrie games, but the most recent one I was at, and you could see him just commanding, just telling each of his players, you need to be 5 yards here, you need to be 5 yards over there. And I think if he's over the sideline, he's not able to get that instruction as quickly for a start. And players are then having to look over and see what they're meant to be doing. But if he's having to do that, then, I'm hoping something like that happens. But at the same time, I don't know what their situation is, if he has to play or if they've got injuries or whatever. But I'm going to go... I think it's going to go to penalties, and we know what happens when we play Airdrie on penalties, so Andy McNeil or Robbie Thompson will need to come on, because Big Kev will handle the ball outside his box. But I'll say 1-1 after extra time, and then we'll win whatever on penalties.
I don't think we don't have any teenage goalies. We might have to go for the next closest thing to Brian Potter, which I think is John Potter.
Yeah.
See if he's willing to be registered in case we need him to come off the bench.
I bet he would be up for it as well. He looks like he's living life.
I think that's the dream. A risk-free penalty shootout. Nobody's going to point the finger at the was he technical director if he can't quite get his hand to a bottom corner. Right, Leslie, your prediction and anything else you want to add on this one, please.
I think regardless of score, I really do think we're going to see a much better performance at the game. And we're not going to go back and kick the arse out of the Inverness game again, but I think the players, the manager, everybody knows the performance levels can never dip that low again. It has to be a red line, and I think we're going to see a reaction. Having said that, I'm not entirely sure that reaction is going to involve balls going into nets. So I'm going to go with 1-1. And then, like Scott, I am going with the Rovers to win on penalties. Just to add one thing, though, Blair has said something that absolutely scares the shit out of me, and that is the possibility that we try a different formation and it works. And then Murray goes to Dundee United thinking, oh, that worked. Let's try that again. You know, something happens and Scott McGill ends up at centre-back or something like that, and Ian Murray thinks, oh, that's a great idea, let's go and do that in the next game against Dundee United. As long as we have a good performance, we don't lose, and we don't have any batshit crazy formations working in an emergency, I will be very happy.
Probably just stick with the back three then, Leslie. Just consistent.
No, back two, Fatih Terim Galatasaray 1990s, back two.
I've just realised we're going to have to try and preview that Dundee United game and try and work out what Ian Murray's going to do. And I think I might. I don't know if you can phone in sick to a podcast, but I think I might. Either that, or we'll have to adopt some sort of Wheel of Fortune-based system for just making predictions, and it would certainly be more accurate than we are. Blair, on that subject, predictions from you, please.
So, Todorov to score would be one of them. I can hate him. I hate Rhys McCabe even more, though. That's the bit that really gets to me. I hate his smug wee face. I'm kind of with Scott in the sense that the stats do not stack up well for us. Like, we cannot seem to score against them. It's just one of them. Like, if on our day, if we turn up and we genuinely play the way we can play, we should beat them relatively comfortably. I'll say again, I don't think it'll be done in 90 minutes. I actually think they might cancel each other out completely, 0-0, and then I don't think it'll go to penalties. I think it'll end up being in extra time. I can see, and genuinely, I think honestly it could go either way. I think it's one of those games where it'll be kind of first goal's a winner. Like, it'll just be score, and I'm going to say this now, especially if it's them, because the one thing that we seem to make every team good at is slowing the game down, dealing with leading a game. Like, so I'll be optimistic and I'll say 1-0 Rovers extra time.
I'm not far off, to be fair. I'm going to go 1-0 Rovers inside the 90 minutes. But you've just reminded me that we've taken the lead in the last 3 games and it hasn't lasted particularly long. So I'm going to say 1-0 Rovers, but very, very late on.
I'll happily take Graham's prediction if it's going to be that exciting.
Well, the other thing is, do you think after the way that the game ended in Airdrie with the scenes at the end, I think, Ross Millen in particular took a bit of umbrage at how what was it? I think it was you,
Mason Hancock,
giving him absolute dog's abuse throughout the game. What was it? Who was it? Man that got man of the match and then gesticulated towards the Wraith Rovers fans at full time. Ross Millen took a bit of umbrage. There was a wee bit. I don't know. I just think there could be a little bit in there with the Wraith players to go, don't let that happen again. Let's give them something back, because at the end of the game you saw it, and obviously Ross got red carded for it, but I think there's a bit of needle there, and I quite like that we're in a game where technically it's a free hit, as such as some people would say. It's a semi-final. Win or lose, that's it. It's over. So could be.
I was going to say, was it Charlie Telfer that went into that tackle with Ross Matthews? He's probably still winded at this point.
It was meaty. It was exactly what. Ross Matthews.
That's what I got to school for. It was incredible.
It was, but I wonder if there will be a little bit of edge there on the game, particularly with Ian Murray,
actually,
with it being his old team as well, and they've had a number. There's no doubt about it. So
it was just I was looking at when you mentioned about they signed the guy for Fulham. Now, there's a quote from Rhys McCabe about him, and he says he can play a variety of positions, midfield and up front. Gives us that different dynamic in terms of changing shape. So that's Rhys McCabe's at it as well. It's just nobody playing the same formation 2 games in a row. Completely impossible for anyone to judge anyone else. It's 6.
In fairness, though, we still don't know if Ian Murray wants to play the same formation 2 weeks in a row. He's never actually been afforded the opportunity until this week, in which he played the same formation as the Livingston game, and it was just not the right decision. So maybe from now, we're just going to have no more injuries. Keith Watson's going to come back, and it's going to turn out he's Franz Beckenbauer, and everything's going to be fine. We don't have anything to worry about. It'll all be lovely. Lift the Challenge Cup, win the Championship. On the way to the Premier League.
There we go. Easy.
What would you want?
See, if that does happen, how good would that be? I mean, I was thinking about this. Keith Watson, he's hardly played any games. It's going to be like a new player coming in. It's like Steven Anderson 2.0. This warhorse, shirt sleeves in a hailstorm, screaming blue murder at people for not marking the posts. It's going to be glorious.
It's actually, I was really surprised. I'm looking to see, Keith Watson, Keith Watson only played 6 league games.
Yeah.
He did really have like an outsized influence for that. Yep. I would have kind of gut feel said it was twice that.
We haven't lost a game. I was going to say we haven't lost a league game with him on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, we've only lost. Well, we've lost 4. But I mean, you got to remember, Keith Watson went off injured in the game against Airdrie at Excelsior in September. That's it. But then, we talk about not having the sort of, the uncertainty in the full-backs or the back line and centre halves. It was Brown and Murray that took the charge all the way up to, I think it was the Inverness away game, which was end of November, and that was when it was Corr and Dan O'Reilly came in in that Inverness game. So we went on that massive period of form with Scott Brown playing out of position and Ewan Murray. But I think it was a Ewan Murray who was battling through at the best of times his shoulder, and then his other injuries, whatever. But so I mean, Keith, 6 games. Was it 6 games? You said, Duncan.
6 games he started, which means 6 games. He's not come off the bench at any point. So
no, he hasn't. No.
But he will bring a
chance to check myself. I lost the run of myself. To be absolutely clear, we want a Steven Anderson 2.0, not a Stuart Anderson 2.0. I don't know what I said, but just for absolute clarity, we don't want the jobber solar panel and sunbed installer. We want a Steven Anderson 2.0.
It had to happen because Blair called Sean Byrne by his real name.
I did. Do you know something? And I did it again in a sentence where I agreed with Scott, and I still managed to say Sean. Nothing but professionalism on. Oh, no.
I may have got that right. We'll find it when we go back and check the recording. But just to be absolutely clear, we do not want another floaty midfielder. We want a warhorse defender.
Yeah, that's real curse of the monkey's paw stuff there. Right, let's leave Airdrie behind for a little while, please, and just cover off a couple of smaller things from this week, or kind of lesser points to cover. First of all, just because I saw some people getting het up about it, and I'd like to try and bring a little bit of sanity to the situation. The Courier had an article, I think it was yesterday, kind of quoting Ian Murray, saying that he didn't expect any business to be done before the end of the window, which shuts in 2.5 hours as we record, and I don't think we'll get anything done now. Blair, are you panicking about this? Are you worried? Are you shaking like a leaf?
I've no slept, mate. I've no slept in weeks. I love it. It's, the semantics of kind of written English almost. It's that thing of, Michelle Money doesn't have any money, but she does. It's just in a trust and it's technically not hers. So, it's this technicality thing. Ian Murray has said that he won't sign anybody before the end of the window. He hasn't signed anybody since the window opened. We have 2 players come in on loan. They're not signings. We're never going to make a permanent signing at this stage of the season unless somebody becomes available. And I can't really see anybody becoming available in January because it just doesn't happen very often unless you're going to League of Ireland, usually is where they come from at this stage of the season. So no, it's absolute semantics of the wording that's being used, and it's a clickbait headline that the Courier have used. Fair play, because that's what their job is. And they've got people panicking because, again, fair play, that's what their job is. But no, he was never going to make a signing. If we're going to bring in anybody else between now and the end of the season, it's going to be a loan. I would imagine it's likely to be a centre-back or a full-back, and it will be from a Premier League team. I mean, we all know the 2 that have been talked about. We've talked about Lewis Stevenson at Hibs, and we've talked about, I keep wanting to say Richard Ashcroft, but Lee Ashcroft at Dundee, both of whom will be available for loan if their clubs decide to loan them and the players decide to come until, I believe it's the end of February, but it's certainly into February anyway. No, we're not in panic stations because nothing's changed.
Excellent. I agree with you completely. Ian Murray also said in that if anything's going to happen, he reckons it'll be 2 or 3 weeks down the line. Yeah. That, with my my kind of Sherlock Holmes hat on, would push me towards Lee Ashcroft.
Yeah.
I think Dundee, they're looking at getting players back from injury. Now, to be fair, Lee Ashcroft's done brilliantly the last couple of weeks. He scored on Tuesday or Wednesday night at Airdrie, I think, or against Aberdeen, possibly. It was at Dens Park. I've got no idea where football takes place. So there is every chance that he's actually will just stay at Dundee if he's doing that well. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if that turned out to be the case. And that it is Lee Ashcroft that he's had an eye on. Stevenson can be interesting. I know Hibs signed at least one centre-half today. So again, that could conceivably could change things. But there's certainly, as you say, nothing was ever going to happen today, Thursday, deadline day. If someone's going to come in to cover till the end of the season, it will be a loan, and that'll happen at some point in the next 4 weeks. But to be fair, if we get 3 weeks down the line, Keith Watson's had 45 minutes against Airdrie, had a week off, and then maybe played a couple of 90 minutes, I don't think you necessarily would be desperate for somebody to come in the same way that we maybe have been, for the period kind of since Dan O'Reilly left. The other point from this week, while we're rounding up things that have happened, we didn't get any new signings, but we did get a big announcement through the sort of Club 1883 channel initially. It was a financial update, which I think probably surpassed any real expectations. It's been interesting up till this point this season, when I think we've all, in various arenas, been kind of defending against accusations of being the Fife Gretna. But actually, up until now, we've not really had anything, any evidence for that. We've just been like, nah, shut up. The budget's barely changed. The gaffer said so. But very much the proof arrived in the form of that email. I think it was Wednesday. I don't think we need to kind of dive into in any great detail. I think the headline really is that it's almost across the board improvement on all these various kind of sectors. Leslie, was there anything in there that you wanted to kind of pick out, or anything you think was particularly notable in terms of the update there?
It's very heartening to see everything there. I mean, I'm kind of thinking back about a year ago, or what we got the kind of dire predictions from John Sim about how much money the club was losing and things like that. And, people are sort of saying, well, any other kind of model, there's nobody's going to be able to match that kind of funding. And I remember a moderately intelligent and articulate Morton fan popped onto one of the chats and said, we were in a similar position to you guys a couple of years back. And, they said, look, don't worry. They said, you'll find that when you've got fresh ideas in, opportunities will open up, money will come. And I thought, actually, fair play. That has turned out to be right with the sort of new structure we have in place, new ideas, new energy, new commercial avenues have opened up. We've done a lot better with things like catering than we did previously. The marketing side of things has been fabulous. And I mean, just as an illustration of how good we are at inducing FOMO, fear of missing out. So I bought the Canary Islands stock when it came out, and I bought the full set of signed posters because I got caught up in the hype after a good result, and I went and just ordered the lot off the club shop, and I'm normally as tight as a duck's arse. So the fact that I did that it shows that it's working. So all power to them.
Can I just clarify something? Did you say articulate Morton fan?
I thought the same thing.
No, it must have been. It was Arctic and 8. So 8 Morton fans in the Arctic on an expedition.
That seems more plausible.
Arctic 8 Morton fans. There we are. Cleared that up.
You think the recording quality is getting better, and you're still mishearing people all the time. I think the other point I want to make on that update is rather than actually the content itself, which was excellent and is testament to the work that people are doing. Once again, it is another example of the board sort of walking the walk. So they said at the beginning there would be transparency, there would be more communication, and that is by far and away the most well presented and detailed kind of update I've seen, really, from any football club. And I'm nosy as anything. See, as soon as I see any football club in the country and it pops up and it says club statement, I'm like, yes, right, let's find out what's happened here. See if it's Hamilton Accies, I'm right in. I'd find out whatever's happened there between their two different Twitter accounts.
It's usually an advert for boxing or something, though, isn't it?
Well, it was the one that's run by the guy who's in charge of the club now. He quoted himself in one yesterday, and quoted himself as Club Supremo, which I enjoyed. It's that's real sort of giving yourself a nickname at primary school vibes. People call me Dragon now, I don't know if you've heard. But I've fallen down a tangent there. Where was I going? Sorry. Transparency and openness. That is unparalleled, really. And that's all you can ask for, really. You kind of take, and it's not always the case, but you kind of take it on faith that the people in charge of the football club are doing their best. What you don't generally get is much of a look at the cogs and the gears and what's happening. Sad guys like me have to wait until the end of the year and have a look at micro company accounts that tell you nothing and try and work out what's happening. So to actually just get the numbers is really refreshing. It's really positive. And, listen, maybe Mike Delios would have done that as well. I don't know. But I suspect he might not have done. So again, I think the thing is just, it's more of the same. And again, we saw recently there was the interview with Andy Barrowman, there was the interview with John Potter as well. And it's good to see. I think it's kind of what we were crying out for years. And I think it's commendable. Aside from the fact that everything else seems to be going well, the communication in and of itself is a real bonus for me. And Graeme, I want to just come to you at this point as well, because obviously head of hospitality at the football club, kind of going into this season. And I mean, listen, the fact that you've had Robbie along twice would suggest to me that you're really struggling for guests in hospitality, but I'm assured that's very much not the case. So do you want to just give us a bit of a rundown on who you've had in this season, anybody you might still be expecting, if that's something you're able to share, and just sort of what else is going on in the hospitality world at the moment?
Well, thanks for that, Dragon. But listen, I got an opportunity to come into the football club, and it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up, to be perfectly honest. I'll say this, and I said it at the time as well. I have very little to no background in the hospitality industry at all. I was training people on forklifts and health and safety before that, but I had worked as the MC. We always said Blair and Scott, Leslie, and things like that as well when we did the Saturday sports show and stuff.
You've sunk a few pints as well, mate, to be fair.
Give me a microphone and get me to talk about the Rovers, and I'm able to do that. And I used to do that for the club over a number of seasons and things like that as MC and host for that. And the opportunity came up, and we looked at the offering that we had, and it's just, what can you do at Starks Park where for context, Arbroath could put 140 people every single game in their hospitality lounges, and they also have the availability for the hotel across the road where they can extend for another 100 people. I mean, think about that. Arbroath can do that, and the thing is, Arbroath sell it. They could get 140 people every single week at Gayfield, and they sell a package on a very, very bespoke sort of experience that you're getting there. And then you look at us, and we've got 65 capacity in the Wraith Suite. And we've just opened up the new Captain's Lounge, which has been really popular, which is about 28 to 30. 28 probably is what's comfortable. So even on those numbers, you look at how far off we are with other clubs in our league, which we would probably puff our chest out and say, we're above that level. And that's what we've got. So we looked at what we're offering. We're looking at the current economic climate that we're in at the moment. You're looking at the hospitality industry. You're looking at hospitality in Kirkcaldy as a whole as well. And you're saying, like, what is going to bring people into Starks Park? And we start saying, it's when you go to hospitality, are you going for the food? Are you going for the sporting event? Or are you going for the whole experience? And that was what we decided. We've got to try and find that right balance of the experience has got to be just right. And one of the things that we've been able to improve on massively with the staff and things like that is the fact that we create an experience for people now where it's what we lack on size and in fancy glass boxes and really 5-star luxury as such, we make up for, and you're always welcome at Wraith Rovers, and whether or not it's the right result or not, you're still had a good day. I think the golden rule that we've brought in, which has had to come into play recently, is let's not let the football spoil a day at the football. And, it's the sort of thing, because everyone can be having a great time up until 3 o'clock, and then everyone sobers up after 90 minutes in the cold at Starks Park and that. And I've actually struggled. I get a bit carried away. I don't know how that happens, but I get carried away sometimes in the build up to the game, and I'm giving it, pump it up, we're going up, this is where we've been, this is where we're going, and I get everyone hyped up. And then you've got to come back in after you've seen a goalkeeper score from 35 yards, you've chucked a goal lead. And I've really had to learn to compartmentalise how I'm feeling, because, I've got to stand there and try and keep everybody happy and keep the place open. And we've done that through a number of different ways. But I should say, the Dean Park Hotel are our shirt sponsors, but they're also the catering staff. We've experimented with the catering. So we've got a 3-course fine dining experience down in the Captain's Lounge. But what we wanted to do is maybe offer a more relaxed experience up the stairs. And one of the big things that we've looked at is, how can you have a day out at the football where you've had your drinks, you've been well fed, you've been looked after, and we tried to bring that price point to under £100 per person, which, show me anybody that can go there and have 3 hours of steady drinking. We always encourage responsible drinking in the Wraith Suite, if possible. But steady drinking, 3-course food that, you're going to be left stappet full, pies, teas and coffees at halftime, a match ticket for a game of football as well. And all of that is under £100. And I think that's what we've looked at from that price point. And we've had a great response to that. And it's been really, really well received. It helps a lot when you've got a winning team in the park. That definitely helps. And, that's definitely reflected in the numbers that we've seen. You go through January, 13th of January, and against, was it Queen's Park? And then the last game there against, is it Airdrie there? Or vice versa, maybe. Inverness, sorry. Sold out. You're selling a hospitality out on the 13th of January after all the money that people have spent over Christmas and everything like that. It just does show you that we are starting to get improvements, and the feedback's been really, really great. But the staff have been brilliant. Lorraine, who works behind the bar with her staff in the Wraith Suite, you need to order a drink once and she's remembered it. for the rest of the night, and it's already poured before you've even asked. You've got Linda Patrick and Alana who are working in the captain's lounge. I mean, I'd hope the tax man isn't listening, because the money that they've been making on tips this year, Linda's had to buy a new bed so she could fit all her cash underneath it. But we've had people in to have a look around. We had guys from Hibs, and you know, to give you put that into context, the people that we had that came in from Hibs, two people who are, one of them's our new Glenmore Spirits partner, who are also partners at Hibs. They have a table at the Emerald Suite in Easter Road. That's £25,000 for the season, is what that's what that priced at. And they said it's the best lasagna they've ever had in their life, was what they had, right? But, you know, they said that the level of hospitality we're offering, we're not trying to match what Hibs can do, because we know we wouldn't be able to hit that standard. I love the Wraith Suite because it's not shiny, it's not new, and there's a little bit of, like, you could be feeling like you're walking a little bit back in time. And I think if you walked in there and then we tried to give somebody a 5-star hospitality treatment, it wouldn't feel right, because you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. So what we decided to do is let's just call it as it is. It's a relaxed day at the football, but you're getting looked after really, really well. And as I said, we've hopefully got our price point right, and also 35mm measures at Stark Park, the Wraith Suite, and £3.95 for a pint of tennis. As I said, drink responsibly, but show me a place in the high street where you're going to get that. And one of the great things we've really done is we've kept the bars open. And the Macmillan Club have been really, really accommodating. Blair, no, you're in there quite regularly, and we're able to say, it gets to about 9 o'clock, we can shut Wraith Suite, and we can usher whoever's left. And usually there's quite a crowd still left into the Macmillan. And now we've even started effectively the Starks Park pub crawl, where if you're in the captain's lounge, you're in there for about 12:30, and then come 6:15, you're ushered into the Wraith Suite to put your cash behind the bar till about 9 o'clock, and then there's guys that have been in the Macmillan lounge till Monday morning sometimes. But that's what
we like a late one.
But that's what we're trying to do. Is we've looked at Arbroath, and I must admit, went at the Arbroath game last season. We beat them 2-1. Arbroath went bottom of the league. And you could have walked into that lounge at 5:30 and you wouldn't have known that Arbroath had just gone bottom of the league. And the place was still busy. Everyone had a great day. We didn't go for the football. It's Gayfield. You know, you're not there for the football. You're there for the experience, and we did. And one of the things I have to say, and it's been particularly well received in the last few weeks, is Scott Brown is in every lounge, win, lose or draw, after the game with the man of the match. And that makes a huge, huge difference. And to give Scott credit where credit's due, we were waiting on Scott, and I hate having to do it when you're standing there, particularly after a defeat, and you've got to try and say, look, I know you want to get away home, I know you're maybe a bit cheesed off with the result, but we do have to do the lounges. So it was because Jamie Gullen was there on Saturday, and it was his sort of farewell. Jamie and Louis Vaughan came with me, and I said, well, Scott's done it every single game without fail. Give him a night off. Let him get away home. We've got 2 players. That'll keep everybody happy. As we were at the captain's lounge, Scott's walked himself up to the captain's lounge to say, I've got to do this, and this is part of my job. And he's great on the mic. And I think that it's easy to do it when we're winning. When we score 94th minute winners against Dunfermline, we're all celebrating and everything like that, and the pats are on the back. But it takes a lot, and I think that's one thing that makes everybody's day a little bit easier, is when you see it. And Scott and Louis, they talk from the heart. You know what it's like. You can tell their body language. They're trying to put smiles on and be accommodating, but they were raging on Saturday. You know, Louis Vaughan in after his hat-trick against Ayr United, and you're going, what planet are you on when you score a hat-trick in the last, and you get the last minute equaliser to make a 4-4 thriller? And I had to remind these guys, Christmas is round the corner. Cheer up, eh? Everyone's trying to get into the best. But it does show you, first of all, how much they care about the results. But secondly, as well, they've made Scott Brown, particular captain. He stands up to that role off the park as well when it comes to this. For context, when I was doing the MCing before, it was when we had Kevin Nisbet was one of the players. I timed it once. Kevin Nisbet won one man of the match, and I swear it was 45 seconds to a minute he was in the Wraith Suite after that. You know, he came in, waved, got a round of applause, got presented it, didn't want to do anything on the microphone, and he was straight back down. And there was kids in there who wanted to get selfies, and Scott and Louis took about 10 minutes in the race week afterwards, getting selfies with probably too many adults for what there was just too many adults there, but there were kids in there. They were signing the posters, signing the programs, and I think that's credit to the players on that front. But it does add to that experience that you're getting at Raith Rovers, where people really are surprised that the players will spend so much time there.
Did you consider? I was going to say, did you consider signing Frey Bentos pies at any point?
That's the thing, is we are looking at, we've looked at, and you have to be careful because look, Arbroath do it so well, and with the phrase that always does around the tin pot phrase, you go, there's clubs that can own that, and then there's clubs that can try too hard. I've got them up my sleeve for some of the bigger games. We had a scavenger hunt when all the new work was going on. I've still got bricks. They're Weems bricks, 100-year-old Weems bricks that I was raking around in all the bins. Simon the kit man was like, "What's he doing now?" And I was like, "We can keep that. We can keep that because you get that signed or you get that." So we've got Weems bricks that I've kept. Where I think eventually, but like you go to Arbroath, I think I counted it. They made over £1,000 a day I was there on selling signed Frey Bentos pies. Somebody who won't remain nameless. My brother Rory spent £95 on a signed Arbroath toilet seat and left it at Arbroath train station. We met guys in the pub who had signed Arbroath fish tanks, and I'm going, how are they doing this? And we had to say, like, what can we be doing now? As I say, we're not offering that level at the moment, but we do have stuff going on. We've got the tellies on, we get the early kickoffs, we get the game afterwards. Starts Park is a buzz right now, and
that's good.
It's great. And as I say, the Captain's Lounge has been really, really popular this season, which has been largely a big money maker for us on that front, and it's a real nice experience to be in there as well. So it's great.
I've spoken to a good few people who've been down, and everybody's raving about it, to be fair. It does sound brilliant. In terms of the rest of this season, you still got spaces. Where are people going if they're interested? Give us your sales pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, we've got Friday night. I don't know when this has been released, but it's Ladies' Night at Starks Park on Friday night. We've got a hospitality partner with we've got cocktails provided for us from Crafty Spirits. They're coming in we've got that kind of thing. We're trying different things. And that's going to be sizzling tomorrow night. I'm absolutely looking forward to that. It's going to be a good laugh. And I think Big Kev Dabrowski's already been informed that there's a good chance he might be on man of the match. So he's going to be looking extra fine tomorrow, believe me. But yeah, I mean, look, you can go on fan base, you can see the availability. As you can imagine, Dundee United on the 16th of February and the Dunfermline game on the 9th of March. They're chock-a-block already. We're starting to look at what's available. Still, we're starting to fill spaces up, but there is availability out there. The last home game of the season, Arbroath at home. Who knows what will be happening on that day, and that could be a massive day to celebrate at Starks Park. And I think there'd be no better place, than being at Starks Park on that day. But you could be enjoying it in the race suite, knowing you can get yourself a drink and enjoy what can't happen after that day. But yeah, we've got a few spaces left. You can go through fan base and get your tickets on there. You can also go onto the Raith Rovers website and you'll see the offerings that we've got. You can click on the wee commercial tab. There's a drop down, hospitality. You see the two options. You've got the Captain's Lounge option and you've also got the Raith Suite option, and it got all the price breakdowns there. We do the inclusive drinks and we also do the cash bar option, and both have season ticket prices as well. So season ticket holders do get a little bit off. I say £96, that's for non-season ticket holders. I think it's £84 for the season ticket for the inclusive drinks and £60 for the season ticket holders for the cash bar. £66 if you're not a season ticket holder. But everyone's welcome, and look, we get former players coming in. Uncle John, John Greer. I don't know if he's on the podcast tonight. I've not seen him. He's not sitting on the yellow pages to try and get to his computer camera. But he's as I guess president of the Former Players Association. John, he does a great job in bringing in players. So we're hopefully getting Dougie Hill on Friday with Sean Dennis in last week. Great to see Sean. Not so great to try and interview him with a microphone. A great footballer, but a man of very, very, very few words. But there's loads of people, and I think everyone seems to be enjoying it. And look, it helps when you've got a great product like we've got in the park. There's no doubt about it. But we really are trying to make Wraith Rovers a destination for people to come to enjoy an experience that you might not get at other places. And I think that's quite good when we're sandwiched between Edinburgh and Dundee in particular, where you go to one of the big games, but there's so many people, probably like ourselves, that would probably enjoy a more authentic experience if you go to a smaller club to get that real feel about it.
Fantastic. You will get our invoice for that advertising space tomorrow. So
get me a mug.
I think we'll let that bring us to a close. That sounds excellent. I think you'll get hopefully get plenty of interest on the back of that. It was very well pitched. So once again, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you to those of you who choose to watch. Still think it's weird. Thank you very much to Graeme for joining us as well. It's been excellent to have you. I'm sure we'll have you back if you are willing to return at a later date. And we will be back on presumably Sunday, although to be fair, it's a Friday night game, so who knows? I should really stop trying to say when we're going to be back when I've got no idea. I really start those sentences.
It's like trying to predict a starting lineup, isn't it?
Where they're going to go. Exactly. Right, fantastic. Thank you, everybody. We will see you again soon.